Hello, and thank you for joining us at today's FIT Authors Talks. FIT Authors Talks is part of the Love Your Libraries event series and is an initiative of the FIT Library that brings authors from our community to speak about their work. From fashion photography to fashion illustration, fiction writing to art, these talks encompass a multitude of projects and themes and celebrate creativity. Today, our FIT author is Professor Ron Amato, who's been teaching photography and art and design at FIT since 2005. His newest monograph, Artists of Provincetown, seeks to not only celebrate but preserve the legacy of one of the nation's oldest art colonies, now facing an uncertain future due to rising property values and corporate invasion. Made over a period of 8 years, Artists of Provincetown contains 84 quietly immersive portraits that illustrate the breadth and depth of this 125-year-old community of painters, writers, photographers, and sculptors. Thank you, Ron, for joining us today, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you to everybody who's here. I see some familiar names, and I'm happy to see you. I guess the two things that you should know are that I am on sabbatical right now, so I am not on campus. Hi, Pat. Is Patrick allowed to ask a question? You raised his hand.
Okay, he can ask in the chat. I've got everyone disabled right now. And let's see, Patrick, let me find him really quickly.
I'll just continue talking while.
Okay.
So two things you should know is that I'm on sabbatical, so I'm not in New York. I am actually in Provincetown working on a new project. This book the impetus of this book was my last sabbatical in 2017. So I have a strong relationship to Provincetown, and I'm going to talk about that as I go through. The other thing that maybe you should know is that I broke my arm last week, so I'm very one-handed, so it may take me a little while for controls and so on and so forth. And I may look weird because one of my arms is under my shirt. So anyway, that's just a personal aside. Thank you again for coming. I want to talk, I want to start the talk by reading something from the introduction of the book. I was fortunate enough to have Pulitzer Prize winning author of The Hours, Michael Cunningham, write the introduction to the book. He is also a subject of the book. He has a very strong relationship with Provincetown. He wrote a book called A Walk Through Land's End, which is kind of the definitive love letter to Provincetown. He came here as a fellow when he was in college and stayed for the next 40 years. So he knows the town and its people very well. So let me start by reading something that Michael says that I think will get you a little bit in the mindset of where we're talking about. When anyone asks me why I'm so attached to Provincetown, I generally say something along the lines of, it's one of the only places in the world where unconventional people are not just tolerated, but preferred. I'm not happy about the fact the world at large considers artists, writers, musicians, and others, anyone who creates something out of nothing, to be unconventional. I prefer a world in which people who harbor no urge to create are the unconventional ones. We do, however, live in this world. In this world, people who create can, for the most part, only be recognized for the title of conventional if they and their work becomes famous. The urge to create and the stunningly hard work it requires doesn't always mean much. Success means a great deal. In a city like New York, people who are initially interested in the fact that you are an artist or a writer or a musician tend to become less interested if they learn that you aren't yet represented by a gallery, have yet to publish anything, have not yet released a hit song. And so whether we live full-time in Provincetown, full-time or part-time in Provincetown, we have collectively established a world within a larger world, a place where creators are not only honored, but respected for their efforts, but honored and respect. I'm sorry, I messed that up. Let me do him justice by going back. And so we, whether we live full or part-time in Provincetown, have collectively established a world within a larger world, a place where creators are not only honored and respected for their efforts, but are honored and respected whether or not they become famous. They are, in fact, honored and respected if they never become famous. Provincetown knows, in ways many other places don't, that significant work doesn't always equal widespread recognition. This understanding has been shared among us for well over 100 years. We who live in Provincetown now are the great-great-grandchildren of Hans Hofmann, who might have been speaking about Provincetown itself when he said that his aim in painting was to create pulsing, luminous, and open surfaces that emanate mystic light. We are as well the great-grandchildren of Eugene O'Neill and Susan Glaspell, whose plays in the 1920s were equally locally renowned. It doesn't matter, not really, that only one of them went on to be inducted into the literary canon. Both were lauded for their work as they were creating their work. It helps that Provincetown's moody beauty and its relative isolation imply making art more powerfully than do many other places. How else exactly are we to respond to the blinding blue autumn skies arcing over the glittering blue-black Atlantic, or to the misty spring afternoons when lilacs seem to have blossomed overnight? Those interludes during which Provincetown all but whispers, "You have no other home than this." And again, I want to thank Michael for his beautiful words. I want to, how I'm going to frame this talk is to talk about my relationship, my photographic relationship with the town. I first came to Provincetown in 1999. I didn't know where I was going. I had no idea. A friend got in touch with me and said, "I have a room in a share. Somebody just dropped out. Do you want to come to Provincetown?" And I said, "Sure. What's Provincetown?" Not knowing where I was going. And I just said yes, and I went, and I threw a camera and all the film that was in my refrigerator in my bag, and I ran. I got on the train to Boston and the ferry to Provincetown. When I got here, it was very dizzying, I would say, and confusing. I had never been any place like it. The confluence of nature and the queer community and the artist community and the Portuguese fishing community, all of these kind of communities coming together in this beautiful strip of land that's basically a sand dune. The entire thing is a sand dune, kind of shifting earth. Really represents well the shifting culture that is here all the time. So I got here. I had my camera. It does have a very, very robust gay community. I was a young gay man or younger gay man, and I was really the sights and sounds and just everything. It was like an assault to my senses. So I started to photograph in men in nature. And this is 1999. And these were the first two shoots that I've ever done in Provincetown. I vowed that it would become a place that I would integrate into my life, and that I needed to have a relationship with. That didn't necessarily happen right away because things, life takes over, and I went to grad school and I got the job at FIT. But eventually, I made a commitment to be here for a substantial amount of time every year. And since 1999, I made a great deal of male figure work in nature. I became very connected to this idea of the body in nature, and the landscape and the light in Provincetown is very unique and very diverse. So it's a never-ending source of inspiration for me. But in 2015, I was getting a little bored by what I was doing, maybe bored, maybe just wanted to try something different here, and really wanted to become part of the artist community. There's a very strong art community here. There's a number of big institutions. The Fine Arts Work Center is here. The Provincetown Museum, Castle Hill is on the Cape here. The Cape School of Art is here. So there's a lot of institutions, but there's also a lot of artists living here. There are also a lot of artists who came here during the AIDS crisis. When they became positive, thinking that it was a death sentence, they came to Provincetown to kind of live out the rest of their lives. And many of them lived, thankfully, and are still here, and really have driven forward the connection between the queer community and the artist community. My practice has always been based in environmental portraiture. That's how I started my career. So I decided I would accomplish a few things. I would get to know some of the artists and create a new body of work of environmental portraits of artists. I had no real intention at this time. I just thought making photographs is part of everything I do. So whether it's a vacation or whatever it is, anywhere I go, I'm making photographs. So this was just another vehicle for me to be creative. So in 2015 and 2016, I think there's 11 portraits here. I moved very slowly. I did 5 or 6 a year. And I got a list from somebody, and I just started at the top of the list, and one person recommended another person recommended another person. And the project started to take a little bit of shape. And then I had a sabbatical facing me in 2017, and I had another project that I was thinking about for years. And it just realized that it wasn't practical for a 1-semester sabbatical. So I said, this project is already off the ground, and I love being in Provincetown, so I'm going to spend my sabbatical in Provincetown working on this artist project. So in 2017, I think I made 25 or 28 new portraits. And it really started to take traction, and really people started to really talk about it. People knew I was in town doing it. I had requests from people to be photographed. And I had a man, his name is Pasquale Natali. I'll show you. He was the very first person that I photographed, and he's at the bottom right of the screen, kind of sitting like a pretzel on the floor. He really took an interest in this and started to guide me on who to photograph and what their relationship was and who was important to the town. My criteria was that they would have a sustained commitment to Provincetown. Whether they lived here full-time or not didn't matter. If they had a history and a sustained commitment to the town and were, or they were represented by a gallery here for years and years and came back every year to do a show, that was kind of the criteria of who I was looking for. So by 2017, by the end of my sabbatical, I had about 35 portraits. And Pasquale came to me and said, I want to put in a proposal to the Provincetown Museum for an exhibition. And I was a little bit doubtful that the museum would do this, because it doesn't, if you've ever been here and you've been to the Provincetown Museum, it's really focused on painters. Don't see a lot of photography in the museum. You don't see a lot of more contemporary looking photography in the museum. You definitely don't see portraiture like this there. So I was doubtful, but he wanted to do it. So I wrote up the proposal and I sent it in, and it was accepted immediately. So now I had pressure on me. So this project that started as kind of just for like me having something to do while I was here to be creative, now took on a serious nature, and now I needed to perform. So I started to come back every year and do it in earnest. So 2018, 2019, I made this grouping. I don't know how many are here, but I made this grouping, and it was getting more and more. It was for the thing that's the sabbatical did for me was have me kind of formulate I don't want to say look because I don't like that word when it refers to photographs, but it started to take shape as photographs that connected to each other, that felt like a grouping, that they weren't random anymore. And I think in these 2 years of 2018, I was really able to monopolize on that and really look at everything that I had done and really like double down on some of the things that I was doing, color palettes and lighting and that kind of thing. And then the summer of 2020 came, and we all know what 2020 was. So I had to really think about how I was going to achieve this when we were isolated. We couldn't really be in spaces together. And I started to like work a little bit more outdoors, but also worked indoors with people with masks on and things like that. It's interesting because the woman at the bottom left, Mike Wright, that you see here, I was actually outside the studio shooting through the studio door. So that was a way of being kind of isolated from each other. And then in January of 2021, we're still in the midst of COVID and isolation. The vaccine hadn't come out yet. And I was off from my semester. I was in between semesters, and we decided to come for January because, we were stuck in our Brooklyn apartment for forever, it seemed like, and we just needed a change of scenery. And I decided to try to find some artists during January whose work was site specific, meaning it was outdoors, right? So specifically working outdoors. And I made these 4 photographs in mid-January. And there's something about these. These have become kind of my favorite group of images from the book. And it's about the experience of doing it, as for sure, that it was cold. It was, I was happy that I was able to achieve it, that I was able to get people to agree to do it, that I was able to find spaces to do it in that really connected to these individuals. But there's also something about the light in January that's very, very different that I hadn't experienced before. The light on Cape Cod, I think, is legendary. That's why painters kind of flock here. But the light in summer months, as with all places, is very different. I didn't expect the light in January to be as beautiful, but it was in a different way. It was bluer, it was dimmer, the day was shorter. So the ends and the beginnings and ends of the day, I usually shoot at the end of the day, but the beginnings and the ends of the day were, the sun went down at the end of the day much quicker. So you really had to be ready and there. But when you got it, you really got something kind of spectacular. So then the show was delayed because of COVID, which was really fortuitous for me because it gave me more time. I think it was supposed to, originally it was scheduled for 2020, and it kept getting pushed off and pushed off. I think that the museum, I don't really know what the strategy was, but I think that they knew that it would be a popular show for the summer months, and they wanted to, I think, monopolize they wanted to give me a summer slot, and they wanted to monopolize on the crowds that would come after COVID. So it kept getting put off, and then finally it was scheduled for. So I was able to do 3 more years. And I was able to accumulate a total of 80, I think there's 84 photographs in total. So this is the last 3 years of the project right here. And then the show was scheduled for summer of 2024. Now, anybody who is a visual artist who does exhibitions might understand this. This is a whole the structure and the envisioning of the exhibition is a whole new piece of art in and of itself. So I spent a long time in a virtual space really designing the show. They gave me a very big room. It had a lot of surfaces. It had 3 doors. So I had to think about, if you came in this door, what were you looking at? If you came in this door, what were you looking at? And just think about how people would move through the space. And this is a little bit of what the show looked like. I got to print 67 of the images on, they would dye sublimation prints on aluminum. They were quite beautiful, I have to say. This is another, so these are 2 separate spaces within the same gallery. So that wall comes out in the middle on one, and this is one side, and this is the other side of the space. I want to talk a little bit, and this probably is more meaningful to people in Provincetown than it will be to this audience, but I think it bears note that we don't work as artists. We don't work in isolation, meaning that we weren't, our medium wasn't born yesterday, and we're not the first people to do it. So I think understanding where we are in this continuum of artists is very important. So in one of my first shoots with a guy named John Dowd, who's a painter here, he mentioned this woman, Norma Holt, to me, and I had never heard Norma's name before. But he said, she did this for years. So I did some research, and I got a book. This is my copy of Norma's book, On Equal Ground, from 2000. And it's about 30 years worth of portraits of artists in Provincetown. It's a very different style than mine, but it was really interesting for me to reach back and connect with Norma. Norma has passed away years ago, so I wasn't able to ever meet her, but I really felt like she became my spirit guide through this. And those tabs that you see on the edge, I was like tabbing people, like researching people. I wanted to photograph as many people who Norma photographed as I could, and I think I ended up photographing 27 people that Norma photographed, in some cases 50 years earlier, before I did. So you see them at the very beginning of their career, and then with mine at the very sort of like in the twilight of their career. A number of people have passed since I photographed them. So I think that this is one of the pieces of this project that I feel the most gratified about, because I feel like if you put Norma's work and my work back to back, you start to create a visual history of a place and the people. And I think that's photography specifically. That's the power of photography, I think, is that it has the ability to build visual histories in ways that other mediums may not. I feel really, really gratified that I'm part of Norma's tradition, that I've continued it. I hope that somebody continues it after me, and we get maybe 100 years of photographs of artists in Provincetown. But I want to show you really quickly. I'm looking at the clock. I have a few minutes left. I'm going to flip through these really quickly. These are the images. I'm going to show you Norma's first and then mine of the people that we both photographed. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about this before I close. This was a mural because I could only print 67 for the museum show. I wanted to represent all 84, so I decided to do this mural that was 12 feet wide and 4 feet high of all the photographs in the book. And it maybe some of you, this will resonate with some of you. So back in the day of Tumblr, if you can remember Tumblr, that was my first big social media kind of, I had a pretty robust following on Tumblr. And I don't know if you remember, the algorithm of Tumblr was that you'd put something up and it would land in a grid, but kind of an irregular grid. It wasn't like an even boxes. It was like landing in kind of an irregular columns and row kind of situation. And you would scroll through it. And I really loved that scroll. I really liked the way that looked. And when I chose a website design, I chose a website that emulated that. So my current website, I've had it for many years, is that I drop a photograph into the gallery and the algorithm of the web design places it someplace it fits. I don't decide where it places it. It kind of decides, it makes it fit into this, again, irregular grid. And what I like about that aspect is that it takes away any sense of hierarchy, meaning that I don't necessarily choose who's next to each other. And I don't necessarily choose whose is bigger than somebody else's. And I don't necessarily choose who's above somebody else's. I have a little bit of control of that, but a lot of times I let the website kind of decide on its own. So the sense of importance of individuals kind of goes away, and everybody's treated kind of equally. And I really love that that idea. And again, On Equal Ground is the name of Norma's book. So I love that that idea of equality, because there are some people who are notable here. John Waters is here. Michael Cunningham, as you saw, is here. Leah Delaria is here. There's a number of people who are known outside of Provincetown. But I want them to have an equal kind of importance with everybody else. So I wanted to emulate that scroll, but I couldn't do it, of course, vertically, because it would be difficult to put that on the wall and for anybody to look at it. So I created it horizontally. And it was really interesting to watch people in the museum really move up and down this space, and take it in and go back multiple times. I saw people look at it, go look at the big prints, and then go back to this and look at it again and have a sense of discovery of finding something they didn't see before. So I really love, this was kind of my favorite aspect of the show itself. And as far as the book goes, I simultaneously was editing the book and the museum show. And again, like the museum show being another aspect of the art and another piece of art in and of itself, the book also is another aspect of the art itself and another standalone piece of art, because there were different considerations for what sits next to each other, who sits next to each other, what's the color palettes, how is somebody using this book? Are they flipping through it? Are they starting from the back? Are they starting from the front? Are they going slowly? Are they going fast? It's really, there's all of these considerations when you make an art book like this, where it's not it's not a narrative book where you're reading, a story through from beginning to end. You can make your own story with an art book and a visual art book. And that aspect of it really became clear to me. And I worked very, very hard on the sequencing of the book. And I think that it's very successful in that sense, because it kind of carries you through. That's it, Jen. That's my presentation. Thank you all for listening.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. If any of you have any questions, please put them in the chat and I will deliver them to Ron. And so I have a couple of questions just to start us off. And I was wondering, because we have your book here in the library, and I read what Michael Cunningham wrote, and then I read a little bit about what you wrote in the back of the book from 2000 and whenever through 2024. And I was wondering, how has the nature of who or what you shoot evolved from the beginning of your career until now?
That's a really good question. That may take a little bit of pondering, but I think that maybe the nature. I mean, I'm interested in people. I mean, my work is portraits. Even the male figure work, it's portraits. It's all about humanity, and I'm really interested in people. And I feel really fortunate to be doing this because I've met so many people, and the camera has given me kind of entree into worlds that I would never have explored or been part of, even for a short period of time. So my work has always been based in people. I think the difference is that my senses, if that may not be the right word, but my senses are sharper now. Like, I know immediately if I want to or don't want to photograph somebody. Like I can't, it's not an intellectual process. It's a kind of visceral process. And I can see photographs in my head a little bit. And I hope there's some photo students in here, and I know there are because I see some names, but it took many, many years for this to happen, but it happens. When I start making photographs, and you hear artists say this, and I always thought it was a bit pretentious, but it's true. It's coming through me. It's like, it's not, I no longer have to really think so hard about what I'm doing. It's a natural process for me. It's almost like muscle memory. And I think that's one of the reasons I don't try to have a style. I don't like that. I don't like that idea of like, I'm going to create a style or I'm going to create a look. But I think because I am who I am, over years, I've developed this muscle memory that doubles down on things I like. It's my taste. It's my visual taste, right? So it's not calculated in any way. It's kind of a natural process for me now.
That's great. We actually have a question that kind of tags along with that answer
Okay.
from Eileen. She says, "Thank you, Ron. Your work is so poignant and natural, and I love how you seem to get to the soul of your subjects. Do you have any advice for developing photographers on the level of forming bonds with connecting with your subjects?"
Yeah, I mean, be present, observe, listen, right? Listen, listen, listen. Let them talk, engage with them, watch them, lean into their body language, let them decide. I definitely control the posing, but only after they've settled into something, right? So I think that you have to be very observant of who they are and what they're presenting to you, and talk. I talk a lot with them while I'm shooting beforehand. There's always a kind of consultation period, whether it be on the phone or through text or email. I talk to them a little bit about uh, where we want to do it, so they're collaborative in choosing a space. I want them to be comfortable. I do not want to take anybody out of their comfort zone. I know that some people revel that, like pushing people off balance. I don't like to do that, especially for a project like this. I want them to be open to me, right? To open up to me, to relax and show me who they are. And the age of digital photography is great for this. This is one of the best things about digital photography, because I may shoot 100 photographs without any intention of using those photographs. But that's my warm up, right? That's getting them used to it, opening them up, getting them used to the rhythm of the shutter clicking, of the flash going off, all of these things that are off-putting to people, right? Is that like you aim a camera at somebody. My mother used to, like, her face became somebody else's face when you aimed the camera at her. The muscles contorted in a way that she was no longer herself. That's natural. That's people tense up when a camera is aimed at them. And also flashes can be, I use a lot of strobe photography, and flashes can be very disconcerting. So if you're a digital photographer, you have the ability to just waste frames, right? Just like get them with you, win them over during that period.
Nice. Tagging along that question, which type of artist sitting for you was more serious or more relaxed or more of a natural, as you would say?
I think it's interesting because I'm doing a similar project in New York City of theater people right now.
Hmm.
And they are definitely more uptight, or maybe uptight isn't the right word, but much more conscious of their image, right? So much more
Mhm.
conscious of how they want to be presented. Bye, Patrick. Um, uh, and the people in Provincetown are much more relaxed, I find. But I will tell you, the most difficult people to photograph and make it meaningful were writers, because they don't have props or an environment. That becomes super difficult for me to, like, create a composition and create context for who they are. So laptops are the most boring prop in the entire world, right? So I try to avoid shooting laptops. Michael Cunningham, of course, is a writer. I photographed him at his home in Provincetown. He's not holding any tools of the trade at all. Um, uh, and I mean, he's Michael Cunningham, so people may know who he is. So it didn't really need to do that. But I struggled with a couple of writers getting something that people outside this community would know and connect with. There are different personalities. Some people are really uptight. Some people are just, they don't like the process. And again, I do my best to try to get them to be comfortable and open up. I think I was successful in getting a really meaningful photograph of everybody in the book, but some are more meaningful than others because of their contribution to that. This guy that we're looking at right now, Bob Henry, who I think may have just celebrated his 100th birthday. He may be
Wow.
99 or 100. This was an early photograph. He had hats. He had shirts. He was ready. I got there. He had props for me, and the interesting story about this photograph that I think I should tell people, and again, this is kind of something I say in my classes all the time, is that options. It's all about options for photographers, right? You need to exhaust your possibilities here. So I photographed Bob. He had hats that he had put on. He had different shirts. He had different paintings in the room, like all of these things. We moved around his space. It was a big space. We moved around it for a couple of hours. We made a lot of photographs. And then I packed up, and I often do this. I used to do this on commercial shoots all the time, is that I then walk around the space. I think I'm done, but I walk around the space, and I just walk around and make sure that I didn't miss something great. Like now that I'm not looking through the camera, let me look with just my eyeballs and see what's here that I may not have taken advantage of. And this painting palette that's in front of him, was on the other side of the room. And it was on wheels. It's a big table on wheels. And this window is on that side of the room. And that overlooks, this is actually in Truro, which is the neighboring town. Or it's Wellfleet, maybe, which is the other town. But I looked at the window, I looked at the palette, I looked at the window, I looked at the palette, and I was like, I feel like I'm not satisfied I really got good photographs with the palette, and I know that I didn't get good photographs with this window. So I just went over and I rolled the palette over, and I created this kind of channel between the window and the palette for Bob to stand. And I suddenly, that was it. I had hundreds of photographs before this. I threw them all away. I didn't throw them away, but I ignored all of them. And this was it. It was magic. It gave me a foreground, middle ground, and background. It really highlighted him. Like compositionally, it was really strong, but it also informationally was just chock full of clues to who he is and where he lives and his life. So I really feel really proud of this photograph. And again, it's a lesson for photographers to be observant, be present, look at where you are, and really explore your possibilities.
Great. That leads me to my next question, actually. Well, I'll combine these two questions. How did you decide which environment to shoot in for each person? And which environment do you enjoy shooting in most, nature or the studio?
I think they're equal lovers. I mean, I don't, some nights I want to be with nature. Some nights I want to be with the studio. It's like, I love both processes, although I'm getting a little bit old for nature. Most of my early work in Provincetown was in sand dunes on the beach. That shifting sand has taken a toll on me. I can't really do that anymore. So I've found more interior spaces to photograph in. But I love both. I mean, my natural habitat is an actual studio. So an actual studio with the background and lights and the whole, I come from commercial photography. I come from that environment. I assisted fashion photographers when I started. So that's really my natural habitat. But I love environments. as well, interiors and exteriors. I think the interiors are tricky because there's limitations to them. You want to sometimes like knock down a wall so that you can get
Mhm.
further back. I mean, there's a lot of limitations, especially people's homes. We don't really, most people don't live in these palatial kind of beautiful, like big homes. So I get into spaces that are a little frustrating, but that's again part of the puzzle, right? It's making it work. It's building this puzzle. But I like all of it equally. Uh,
Mhm.
I am mostly an artificial light shooter, so that's something. So even when I'm out in nature now, I'm bringing lighting with me.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's not all natural light. So I like to really control the light.
Okay. So what are you working on currently? You said you're doing something with theater performers. Um, did this project that Artists of Provincetown kind of precipitate what you're doing right now?
Yes, because I was frustrated because I was in Provincetown in the summer making these photographs, and then I'd get back to New York and I'm like, I'm not making these photographs. And I make other things in the studio. I have a lot of projects that are centered around the studio, but I wanted to do more of this in New York City. And my grad degree is a performing arts degree. So I worked in theater for a short period of time, and I love theater, and I have a lot of friends who work in theater. So it seemed like a natural to kind of do this kind of thing in that genre. It's becoming it's a little more difficult than this because schedules are like really
Mhm.
all over the place, and people are closing shows. I had a person, I won't name who they are, who closed the show, like wanted to do it, but was doing 8 shows a week on Broadway, and then closed the show and went to London to do the show. And I missed her by
Wow.
a couple of days. Like we couldn't make it work in between the shows. So that's becoming a little challenging. But I am here on sabbatical working on something completely different. I'm working on a wet plate photography project, um, which is a 19th century uh, um, photographic process of um, it's complicated, but anybody who knows what that is will know.
Oh, great, great. So one last question, and if anybody else has anything, please put it in the chat. What was the most challenging part of this project?
Um, I think scheduling
Mm.
was challenging only because I'm here during the summer, except for that one year that I was here in January. I'm here during the summer, and if anybody's been to Provincetown, it population swells to like 60,000 people
Oh,
in
wow.
summer. It's got like 3,000 people in it in winter and like 60,000 people in summer. And there's a lot of pulls on locals time. So there's a lot of different things that some of these artists need to work a job. So they're working in the tourist industry. So they're just working constantly during the summer. Others have big summer shows. A number of these people are working on they have an opening every summer. They have a gallery show. So they're painting or whatever their medium is. So they just can't break away to give me time. So I think that was challenging. Um, uh, the other thing that was a little bit challenging was that I couldn't get to certain people. So there are some people missing from this that I was trying to get for a couple of years. And for whatever reason, I couldn't get them. And there was one man in particular who was uh, old, very old, and was getting more and more sickly as the years were going on. And I couldn't get him to answer the phone even. And finally, the last year I was doing it, he moved in with his daughter in a different part of Massachusetts. And I got his daughter on the phone, and I said, I will come to you if we can make this happen, I will drive to you and we'll do it there. And he's notable in town. He's also in Norma's book, and I just wanted him. And he passed away before I could get it.
Oh,
And that was heartbreaking to me because he was kind of like, I never met him, but I felt like he was so present to me. He was such a part of this project, even though he's not in it.
wow. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, if there are no further questions, thank you so much, Ron, for your presentation on Artists of Provincetown. Beautiful photographs, beautiful, beautiful work,
Thank you so much.
and a lovely story.
See the clapping. I'm trying to clap with my broken
Oh,
arm.
yes, and get better. Heal up soon.
Thank you. I miss you all. Oh, look. Oh, my favorite people are here. Look at that. Thank you all so much. I love being on sabbatical, but I do miss you all. So I'll see you in the spring.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Ciao.